the first to know. Nsem-Pii TV.
For my more qua sh0cks na memfawo emra Nsem-Pii TV ene anopay na busia ensema hodwa egu ya pnoso ena anopay na Nsem-Pii TV ya bobo ni nyina no a ye bi ba besom ye na tiefo na atiefo atimi ehu ensema ekoso ewo man konkro Ghana. What is say Ghana aban ene America aban age atum anase wo mo assign MOU bia deportation anase West Africa na Africa nipa wo mo America na America ban episode mo kom krum na wo mo kro se enya ade da se wo beji omo eni no America ban ene Ghana ban assign enkrata say sankofo na ebifi Cote d'Ivoire ebifi Zimbabwe ebifi all Africa countries here wo mo krum for president and sign omo krum for foreign affairs minister and sign say wo ji omo a Ghana aban etimi akako sign say sankofo ni nyina no wo behia omo Ghana ha say America ban enfo mo gbara Ghana ha ni nyina ne say sika fia bi a etechire a Okudzeto Ablakwa ne NDC amayiku ebenya dinti eno magye sa ne ma no atum na ena no pai dehuru etimu adwudwa sanse ne mu amesro se wo beka me ho na mede wakọ na sansem no watimu akakoti na wo kwan am NDC amayiku no peso faso na wo tete Ghana epansam kura ma me no ko na akakoti bibra yeba Nsem-Pii TV yenetifo ebeto aso.
So me da say ebre adu ha yenko he video nimra yeah.
I think the Supreme Court held that whatever name you give it, when two countries come up with an arrangement, that places obligations on both of them. Whether you call it a treaty, a contract, it requires ratification. It was a majority decision. Only one person dissented. So I'm a bit surprised you're saying because an MOU, it means that it oughtn't have gone to Parliament. The judgment was very clear on the Guantanamo 3 that Article 75 was violated, which says international agreements must go through Parliament. And you are a 4th MP, so at least you could have gone to Parliament. And you have a massive majority. So what's the problem?
No, I agree with you. And that is why I said at the press conference I held a couple of days ago that when this is elevated beyond an MOU and it's a full agreement, we will go to Parliament under Article 75 and have it ratified. At this point, it is just a loose understanding.
The agreement is enforced. But how can you enforce? How can you enforce something you call a loose agreement? It is already enforced. You've got 14. You're bringing 14.
Look, I've inherited so many MOUs that didn't go to Parliament for ratification, and it's
but because of the precedent of the Okudzeto 3, I felt like this was, and you know this. So is it an oversight? Are you going to apologize for it, or
no? It's not an oversight because we sought the Attorney General's advice. It was discussed in cabinet, and the Attorney General's advice and his counterpart, the Attorney General on the US side, also said that look, this is an MOU. And MOUs do not require ratification. That is why
the Attorney General is wrong because the judgment is clear. I can read it.
You would know better law than the Attorney General.
At least the law is there for all of us to read. Unless the English reading of what the Supreme Court said is different.
See MOUs in that judgment.
The language of Article 75 is very clear. The article forms part of the set of provisions governing the role of the executive arm of government in Ghana's international relations. I read the judgment. Yeah. The scope of the article deals with treaties in general. The side notes and the body of the text makes reference to treaties, agreements, and conventions. It is also clear that the instruments referred to relate to Ghana's international relations with other countries or groups of countries, and the article requires that such instruments must be ratified by Parliament. The Constitution makes no mention of any formal distinctions that are dependent on the formality with which such an instrument is formatted or brought into being. Then it goes on to even list MOUs, etc. This is the judgment. This is Sofia Kufu. I'm not the one saying it. So I don't know whether you're saying because the AG says, in fact, if the argument of the defendant in the state, the government, were to be taken seriously, that the transaction being by way of note verbal, executive agreement, memorandum of understanding, diplomatic note, or what have you, is merely administrative one, then the question arises as to the exact status of the said persons now that they are in Ghana. Are they migrants? It's a long argument. It basically says once two countries agree on something of that nature, Parliament must ratify. It's very clear.
We are working with the Attorney General's advice, and the Attorney General's advice is that when this is elevated to an agreement, it can be ratified. At this point, there is no need for ratification. So
then, all right, Eric Medase, abusia video amushe Ghana Foreign Affairs Minister friend Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa. Na Oko Bernard Able shows wo City TV. Anacha no One TV. Ene omukudi enkomo. Na one of the questions ebaye Nsem-Pii aba Ghana for ka ho asem na senkrofo adwen shedan ko ho. And they say August this year Ghana ban any America ban akwa apam say the some West African nationals omo akoye eniamo ho sem bi wa America ana America ban for say bibi nti omo ntimi ntra America ho na ope ba bi di omo akwa koguo na Ghana ban akwa giatum say odom ba be guye man mu yeso omo ya about 250 na 250 no 250 no emu 14 edikan ababedu ena emu 40 enso enam kwan so na akadodo nso a ebeba actually Ghana for shall say bisa questions say adenti na deal no anko parliament because as I say anko parliament na parliament agitum and sadie we ebiasi na John Mahama na mamu edikan no ena akwakwa gi enkrofo bi ba krom ase mu bekan a na omo ye yemenfo mienu bi no mo Guantanamo Bay ewo America ho a yede mo ebae na Ghana for ye pe edi 20 yetu omudi git mo 2 na omo bae no omo so say ya John Mahama ban no efa sebo akwan so ekwaji omo koda edbe wuro man ni mu etire na ho da ho ena Henry na naboache na nabi any Arabi e friend Margaret Banfo eko Supreme Court eko catch Supreme Court say the true and proper interpretation of Article 75 because for say ekwan John Mahama afa so agi enipa ndi abo man Ghana mu no wanfa emna kwan so Supreme Court etnase Judge Fonson Mame Sofia Kufu and no presiding judge 6 of the justices can say ekwan ma John Mahama fa so agi enipa no bo man mu no wanfa mra kwan so enti no enema mienu ida say be sade omako ana say obedwe ko parliament na parliament a ratify sa agreement no onipa baako na odi scientist aruin munimuni paako Justice William Atuguba say enye won ono de enye de obe dissent. Now before that na Supreme Court edikan ama rulings Bilet say Amidu number 1 versus Attorney General in the case of Wyoming ama Attorney General na can say Supreme Court can say ansana obi amanoni company bi ana o mafu from so ni Ghana bet sign contract bi ano esese eko parliament na parliament egitu ansa na tina ye adwuma in the case of Johnny Debugri versus Attorney General ono so GMP's case no so akọ empoma Supreme Court asa can say Ghana ban Ghana ban any o mafu from sign contract bi ano a na Ghana ban pese otwa sa contract ni mu a esese odeko parliament na parliament ensuma approval ansa no watimi atwam etu beji contract na ese odeko parliament ubetwam so a ese odeko parliament so eno wo ho but in this video Okudzeto Ablakwa say oman fan ko parliament eno ma chance eje enkrofo edeba ye my Ghana mu putting all of us at risk. Na ninchira muni say a cabinet decision. Yakasa cabinet decision ministers of state cabinet ministers no enyina atwo mampani tuo na vice chairman vice president tuo general secretary of NDC fifi kwetenie ese dinketenie omo nyina na tena ase na omo gitu mu say yanye enkrofo ye deport omo no mra Ghana wa bere omo fan ko parliament enkobo parliamentarians na mane ni Ghana for mane ena Bernard Levi san say na say we say dia mabu oman the constitution so the Supreme Court judgment and ruling na ma interpretation of Article 75 no so no eno so mabu so Osi ono de omu hwe so because we no MOU. Then he went further to read to him portions of the ruling of the Supreme Court say Supreme Court aka say a treaty, say a contract, say MOU, say a bibia once involve Ghana any another country ni there as a parliament. No overwhelming majority of parliament abi bia parliament bia no ubetimi agye atum. Okudzeto Ablakwa say no dear Attorney General Dominic Ayeni eka kire cabinet say betimi agye atum because America Attorney General no aka kire ni say we nya ade say parliament into onu so agye atum hook line and sinker akoka kire John Mahama e cabinet ase ama John Mahama so agye atum ma hyase agye ahoho atukotenafo ebinom aye bone ama wo America no ne ade edi omu eba oman Ghana mu. Question me bisa me hunu say enya sa Attorney General we ena na anu ya no Commonwealth for omoba association etro krata de brand say ekwan a wo fasu eyi maami tokonu edi no onwan famra kwan so enti onhwe no fa periperi ye enya adwuma na maami no yensan wi statue no kwara adwuma na no call back conference ase okodidi royal for no nyina tem Ghana Bar Association for didi omu nyina atem esa catch rom say enya de obi betimi afiri ne man so na obe catch say Ghana for kwan yen fa so fa ye mra enya adwuma but Okudzeto Ablakwa I expose no catch say America Attorney General and Alfred Dominic Ayeni Ghana Attorney General no catch and say medini pa braw jamu o man na we enko parliament enti no je Emma Dominic Ayeni nso agye ema na make say enipa no 40 di ka by you see in the coming days ebetima ye ne ebetima ye ochena ebetima ye ochena chim ipa no 40 enso eba we are told say we are expecting about 250 of them e dey aba oman Ghana mu omoba so mu decide so mbeko so mbetena ho ye nyina ya samwa John Mahama 1 okoji gitmu 2 for John Mahama 2 wakwaje yesi West African nationals e dey aba enti wa hwe ya da kriyete yesi ya ni wakwaji emimfo ene atuturafo e dey aba begu yeso na oman Ghana ya bie nyina enkwa e dey ato asan mu se ora Mahama eni bibia odi si a adenti no suro se odi agreement no ebeko parliament because the majority to go through now onim say whatever the agreement entails say or the parliament the minority will scrutinize it and bibi omubia no will come out na abeka che Ghana for say ni omunie and you drove and parliament now what makes the whole situation rich Kwakwajima menu former health minister ena corona abawiase ena corona no ekunipa ena Ghana yesi aduro bi a yede ku corona no ye fa no Sputnik V et Ghana buy say op Sputnik V ni bi na obi akụ corona edisek bi ewo Dubai ho ba bi na ye nya bi ena yesi ekofa no so minority for ede Kwakwajima menu eko parliament say Kwakwajima menu aye di pabonini na wakwa kwoto nuro a ne boden esi ne yeto no wiasa mansa adwaso ebiem eye external agreement it na esese ode ko parliament na parliament ema approval Kwakwajima menu amfa ko parliament ejomo pushie ema parliament eti committee na members of that committee na eko probi Sputnik V no na nipa de sa petition ni koye no na Haruna Idrisu Pamami nta kando na Okudzeto Ablakwa number 3 sabre no na Haruna Idrisu minority leader Kwakwajima Pamami nta kando ranking member health committee na Okudzeto Ablakwa ranking member foreign affairs committee Okudzeto Ablakwa nom elmeyeti committee se Kwakwajima menu akoto nuro covid nuro ayade ebese nipa yare ne aboni pa ho ban no wanfa ma parliament anyantum ejomo de koy eventually what happened ni say court as parliament committee no recommended say contract ni ntwam Omo sign a recommend biom in fact be ya chinyeshu Ghana say yam prosecute Kwaku Agyeman say wakwa sign contract with a certain sheikh na ama parliament for approval na nunti ama eduro no buo ayedin ese ne ese Ghana for eto today Okudzeto Ablakwa eye foreign affairs minister wakọ akwa hia ne America for e de omonsa akọ secretary ase ama yesisa enkrofo abegu yeso Oman fadi na anko parliament ye bisana o say America Attorney General aka kire Ghana Attorney General say we enko parliament ema Attorney General no so ekobojo mahama amane o cabinet emomu nyina agya atum say ampani America Attorney General no eka no eye right senior Ghana constitution no and the Supreme Court of the land eka in the case of Henry Nanabuache and Margaret Banfo versus Attorney General Etene ya sanse nipa no e de bo man Ghana mu de nipa ba no e ba jo wo yenim nipa ko mo ba wo asate na yetie yi yenim ba bi ombetena yenim ebredu ombetena krom ha sei se omo betena ha for enfie bi bosumi bi enabi ana omo ba asetena afebo omo bedu man Ghana mu a omaduane die omase ba bi ombetena ede ombedam ene hwan nyina no Ghana for yenim San crofo edi omo ba no se omo ye hardened criminals se omo ye terrorists se omo ye hwan eno susu ye nim the only means I betimi dia hu saade ne say aban edi agreement no ebeko parliament senior article 75 any the Supreme Court ruling in the case of Henry Nanabuache Margaret Banfo versus Attorney General eka no Okudzeto Ablakwa so ese apetampe Ghana for mo ye den omo mfanko entini ayeti hu ni. And can you imagine Sanko Okudzeto Ablakwa a ranking member? Our foreign affairs committee so na Kufuado wa bemu na Kufuado akwa sensan krata na wan fa ma parliament na okoji ahoho ne amimfo e de abegu yeso man Ghana mu. Can you imagine what will happen in this country? Adentina minority ranking member no o issue one statement per side hu no wa ko pen ba bia chan wa yedin Adentia. I am very sad. And as I said, Ghana for sorry, well-meaning Ghanaians near Kasa etia the conduct of John Dramani Mahama. And you see, and now because now we Ghana buying embassy of America. Okudzeto Ablakwa and flimsy excuses. Esukokotumu and creating a rift between Ghana and America. Emma and Nameka say sanctions in the banner eba into or pebibia pepa na niwo. Into a kwaji kotobeku mafo e dia begu yeso abedi o man newu. And everybody is quiet. Nobody is talking. How can we build a country like this? Okudzeto Ablakwa dishonesty ashenema or a politician bia only principles. Because so to me be na no e ka kire say yenko top presidential jet for dia. Say most e bloso na ewo yi a ankaba na asase apai Okudzeto Ablakwa wo chimma nkrola dmiti ebobo enti Ghana for sorry no monkasa ansana yakofa nkrofo bi abegu yeso momai adi yewu bidin di Kwaku Dawuro wei